This is the Dynasty Market Report, where we look at a specific asset in Dynasty Fantasy Football, be it a pick, a player, and we try to figure out how is the market actually moving with that asset? What are real trades that are happening? What is that worth? Because we all know one of the best things you can do in Dynasty Fantasy Football to improve your team is by making trades, playing the market. And everyone understands buy low, sell high. You gotta buy low. And when you're selling, you gotta sell high. We all get that part, but what always is low? What is high? If you're not tracking the market, it can be hard to tell. It can be hard to know. So today we are gonna figure that out for Chris Olave. Chris Olave, drafted in 2022, fits right in with a lot of the other receivers that were drafted in that draft class. There's a lot of high talent guys drafted in that draft class that have not fully hit yet. So taken ahead of him, Drake London, who didn't break out until year 3 when the Falcons made a quarterback swap. There were a couple years of us saying, is Drake London good? We haven't seen it yet. Is he good? And now we've seen he is. Garrett Wilson, taken right before Chris Olave, has had probably the worst quarterbacks in the league for any talented wide receiver over the past 4-year stretch. He has regularly put up 1,000-yard seasons and has drawn high target numbers. He missed some of last year. Some of that was with injury. Some of that was with bad team and bad coaching. We're not totally sure if he was injured through the end of the year. But Garrett Wilson has shown that he has a lot of talent and can succeed in this league. And that's going to bring us to Chris Olave, drafted one spot after Garrett Wilson, who also has shown a lot of talent in this league, but for one reason or another, has not always hit the elite level. So he's had some rough quarterback play that has held his numbers back. Last year, he struggled with concussions that caused him to miss time. This year, he finally hit in a way that we thought he could. Over his career, he's finished as wide receiver 25, then jumped up to wide receiver 16 in PPR scoring. This past year, he was wide receiver 6 in PPR scoring. That leaves out that 1 year, 2024, where he missed a lot of the year due to injury. And if you think back to last offseason, there were leagues where you could not get a first-round pick if you wanted to trade Chris Olave away. There were leagues where you just couldn't really trade Olave at all. The manager wouldn't take anything less than a first, and no one in the league would give a first. And that's not the situation that we find ourselves in right now. We're going to go through some real trades and kind of talk about the low end, the high end, and the middle ground of those. So first trade that we'll bring up is on the lower end, Chris Olave for just Brian Thomas Jr. You get a younger wide receiver, but I don't know that Brian Thomas Jr.'s skill set is as good as Chris Olave's. You do get a couple years of age, but I think I would just take Olave in that situation, not just for the perceived production coming in the future, but for the ability to make other trades. If you trade for BTJ right now, you're getting a player that has the same kind of stink that Olave had last year. We think he's good. We've seen him be good. We've seen a top 5 fantasy finish from Brian Thomas Jr. But if you try to trade him away right now, you're not getting much. And even if you try to trade for him, there's a chance you might not be able to. So would I take Olave, someone that I could more easily move at a higher price, and trade him for BTJ? I don't know that I would. Here's another deal. I actually have this one as a real deal in my inbox. Someone would send me Jordan Love and I would send away Chris Olave. I think as a position swap, that's fine. I could probably get a better quarterback for Olave. This is just the deal that's offered to me. So it feels like on the lower end. There's nothing wrong with this deal. The values line up. It's really just the opportunity cost. If I trade Chris Olave here, am I missing out on a better trade I could be making? And I feel like I am. So we're going to go through a couple other ones. Here's another low tier trade. Someone sent Olave and a 27 second to get the 103 in this year's draft class. Now the 103 in this year's draft class, you're probably, maybe in your league, in a super flex league, someone might take Fernando Mendoza at 102. So it would go Jeremiah Love, then Mendoza, and then you're getting your pick of wide receiver, or you're getting the second best wide receiver or the second option at wide receiver in this draft class, or you need a quarterback and you're taking Mendoza. I don't know that I need to add on a second round pick to make that swap, though. It feels like I'm giving up Olave and then more when I really shouldn't have to. So if we look at some of these middle ground trades, here's one that I found where I couldn't really say I for sure loved the other side or for sure loved the Olave side. It's Olave and Josh Downs for Keon Coleman 107, 207. I still think there's a little bit of value in Keon Coleman as a flex option on your team. He still has some upside. The 207 is real liquidity, and the 107 is okay as well. And you would be getting all of that. Josh Downs doesn't do a lot in this deal for me. I'm not sure exactly where he goes or what type of value he'll end up having. But this is about where I'm calling it even-ish. Let's jump to some of the more higher end trades that I have seen happen. These are all real trades that I've gone through. Someone sent Chris Olave, and now think back to one of the trades that we just covered. Someone sent Olave, and they got the 103 and a 27 third on top of that. So while we were looking at those deals before saying, you know, Olave for Jordan Love or Olave for BTJ, it's not a horrible deal. It's just you could get Olave and nothing for the 103, which was mentioned in the trade previously, and more on top. So I think that's the higher end where I'm not sure you're going to get up to the 102. It's possible you can, and it doesn't make that much of a difference to me. You're kind of picking between 1 to 2 different wide receivers or Fernando Mendoza in that situation. So going from the 103 and a 27 third to the 102, okay, fine. I guess I would take the 102 there, but they're very, very close. And I don't know that we're going to get to the 101 for Chris Olave, that someone would trade Jeremiah Love for just Chris Olave. So I think we're starting to hit the high end. Here's another high end deal with a larger package. Chris Olave, Quinn Ewers, Hunter Henry, and a 27 second round pick for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, I really like Chris Olave. I was not someone who was really down on him last year. He is someone that I acquired in a lot of rebuilds because I figured his value is just low because people saw him being injured and thought he might not play again. But if he plays again, he's really talented. And if I got that and I can add on a bunch of other pieces, like I have a rebuilding team where if I could throw in a Quinn Ewers, a Hunter Henry, and a random pick and just get Amon-Ra St. Brown, that's a clear exit path for me on that rebuild to get up to the better asset. And even if I'm not necessarily like rebuilding or a contending team, I think just taking all of those parts and moving them and coming away with Amon-Ra St. Brown is a big value win. It will be hard to move someone like Quinn Ewers not in a deal like this. You know, if we think of trades that we shouldn't make because we could make a better trade, this is a trade that even if you like Chris Olave, I feel like you just have to make because you can't move these other guys in other deals and get this much value. I don't know that you can move Quinn Ewers unless he's named the starter for the Dolphins. I don't know that you can move Hunter Henry other than deep tight end premium leagues. And even then, you're not really getting a return near the caliber of Amon-Ra St. Brown, and a random 27 second is not going to push the needle on a lot of big name players. So if we can package all these together and come away with one stud, even if we then down tier from Amon-Ra St. Brown to a Garrett Wilson, you could probably get a first round pick thrown on top of that and come away with a much nicer package than the package of Olave, Ewers, Henry, and a 27 second. And I couldn't find many other trades much higher up than that for Chris Olave. The 103, 102 range, if you're just looking for a one pick swap, I did see a lot of deals where someone got the 104 or the 105 plus as well. And those are kind of in that same high end range. Those top 5 players in this year's draft, I'm kind of going to be grouping into a tier right now in February until we see other information coming out of the NFL draft or the combine to make me think differently. So that's going to give us the low end of the market for Olave, the high end of the market for Olave. If this has been helpful for you, let me know with a comment, a like, a subscribe. I do read all of the comments. I try to reply to most of them. I see the likes, I see the subscribes. I am just one guy. So thank you very much for those of you who have done that. If you've made it all the way to the end here, thank you very much. We will see you in the next one.